Well, good morning, everybody. How you all doing this morning? Good. If you have your Bibles, let's go ahead and open up to 1 Peter chapter 3, 8 through 13. We're actually making our way through it. We're gonna finish it this next week and everything, but let's go ahead and continue on. If you can go ahead and take notes in your weekly updates that you received when you came in, or if you'd like, you can go to the YouVersion Bible app. Under the events section, you can see right there, Northeast Christian Church. You can find our list in there. And of course, we're on Facebook Live right now, so sometimes people can't always make it to church, and we still have an avenue for them to come and attend and be a part of the service via online. Or it's also a great way, if you've not been to church in a long time, just kind of check out the service. So for those that are on the Facebook Live, we want to thank you for joining us here this morning. So question is this, what would it bring you to beg? Like what would get you on your knees begging? I mean, I would think that it would have to be something rather important. It would have to be something rather special. Kids, they always beg for things that aren't worth it, right? They're always begging for things like toys. Like, please, can we have this toy? Or they'll beg for dessert. They always beg for dessert, right? Yeah, like, please, can we have dessert? My kids, they beg for video games. They beg, Dad, can we play Fortnite? This is a very popular. Dad, can we play Fortnite? Dad, can we get some V-Bucks for Fortnite? And sometimes, well, most of the times, I'll just say no just because I can. And I enjoy crushing their hopes and dreams. It's absolutely amazing. Then I say, you know what else I do? I say things all like, maybe go read a book instead, because I know that just ticks them off, okay? You know, being a parent is so much fun. And so that's what I do. Adults, we don't beg for things like that. Well, most of us don't. Some of us do, okay? I see you looking at your spouses. But we beg for things, like what would be important for us? Like I would think, I thought about it, like money. Money's important for us, especially when you don't have any, right? And there's absolutely no hope of getting any. I would think that's something important. And like I've never had to do that where I was begging for money, but if I was trying to take care of my parents and there was no hope of me getting any money, I could see myself doing that. Like I said, I've never had to do that, but you look out and on any and every street corner, you'll see that. You will see people begging for money. So I can imagine that's pretty important, extremely important. So I could see us doing it. I could see myself doing that because that's something that's important. What about on the same line? What about food? Like money's important, but food's also important as well. And I could see us begging for food. Now, I really hope that I never have to beg for food, but the truth of the matter is that even right now, I'm getting closer and closer to begging for food. And it's not because I don't have enough. It's because I haven't had a certain type of food in a very long time. It's been like 3 weeks since I've had a carb, okay? I had one noodle last night. It was the most delicious thing I ever had in my entire life. But I could see myself begging. You think that's a joke? Ask my wife. I had one noodle. But I could see myself begging for that. Like, listen, just one, like a Anthony's Pizza, all right? Like, if I could just smell it, okay? If I could just smell Anthony's Pizza. All I need is a smell. That would be great. Or like, if I could just lick the salt off a waffle fry, okay? I don't even need to eat it. If I could just lick the salt off this waffle fry right here, I'd be happy. I would beg for that. And like a stack of pancakes, covered in syrup, like I would just use it as a pillow. I don't even need to eat it, but I would beg for that. I would beg to just sleep on, because I haven't had it in so long, And so, for me, carbs for me are like video games for my kids. My kids are like, Dad, can we play Fortnite? I'm like, listen, you slip me a slice of white bread, and you can play all the video games you want. It's so stupid. Oh, gosh. But when we beg, it's going to be for something that's pretty important to us, right? So now let me ask a question. What would bring the Bible to beg? What would bring the Apostle Peter to beg? Now, interestingly enough, and I don't know if you ever see it this way, but I believe the whole book of Peter is begging. He's pleading with us. There's these pleas. He's begging for us to never give up hope. He's begging us to be God's chosen people. He's begging for us to strive for holiness. Last week, he's begging for us to submit to earthly authorities, which was a difficult one. He is begging for us to listen and respond to God and his ways. And this week, he's begging for us to do something that's probably even more difficult than last week's sermon about submission. He's begging for more. And what's more difficult than submitting? Unity. I say that like it's a dirty word, okay? Like it's a 4-letter word, while it's actually 5, okay? But it's really difficult. Like this one right here, I think this one right here would be more difficult than anything else. Why? Because just look around. Look at how different every single one of you are. Here we are, we're told he wants us to be united. God wants us to be unified, but look at every single one of us. We come from different walks of life. We come from different stages of life. You all look different. You all act different. You don't look the same whatsoever. You all dress differently. You have different interests. And let's just be honest. America is like this melting pot of cultures and traditions and religions and opinions, and that is going to make its way into the church. That is going to make its way into the church. We become that melting pot. And it's very easy to look around and go, how can we be unified when we have nothing in common? Because let's be honest, having something in common is very, very important, right? It is extremely important. So many of you in here are married and many of you are single, okay? For those of you who are single, all right, let me help you out here. For those of you who are single, us married folks, we went through this process of finding our spouse. And here's the deal. It didn't just happen like this, all right? It didn't happen like that, okay? It took time. It took patience. It took getting to know people. And here's the thing, like, you know, the ones we're with now, we might have dated somebody else prior to them. And as we got to know them, we realized we had absolutely nothing in common with that person. And so we were like, no, that's not going to work. And so we continue to look for somebody that we did have something in common with, that we could, you know, grow with. We had to find something in common. Like, for example, all right, before I met the love of my life, my beautiful bride, Faye, before I met her, I dated another young lady. And she loved the beach, and she had this idea that she's like, I want to name my kids like Sea Turtle. And she's like, I want to name my kids like Sea Turtle and Starfish or Coral and Reef, Jellyfish. I don't know, something stupid like that. And I was like, what? And it was in that moment I go, man, this ain't going to work out. And then I proceeded to say, I said, listen, it's not me, it's you. You want to name kids stupid stuff. And I don't want to do that. That's a horrible idea. And then, after that didn't work out, I met Faye. And I said, hey, I have a question for you. I said, what do you think of the names like Sea Turtle and Starfish for a kid? And she's like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my entire life. Then I was like, I love you. We proceeded to find that we had much more in common than that. And so we grew to, so like it was important for us to have something in common. We did. We had, you know, the hatred for stupid names in common. And then we blossomed from there to the amazing relationship we have here today. And so that's what, you know, that's part of it right there. So we needed to have unity. We needed to be unified by some kind of commonality, common interests. But we have to have that with the church as well. But the thing is, we're looking around and we're like, we don't have certain things in common. We're so different, but we know that unity is important. We know how essentially important it is, but we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to accomplish it. So like, how in the world do we be unified when none of us are alike? We're so drastically different. It's a great question. How in the world do you do this? Listen, the definition of unity, all right, when you look it up, the definition of unity is this right there. Okay, first of all, I hate it when they say the state of being united. I hate that. That's the dumbest answer in the world, okay? But check what it says there. Or joined as a whole. Like, how do we join as a whole? How do we join as one body when we are so different? But it's so important that the Apostle Paul's going to beg. He's going to beg in Philippians 2:2. He says, then make my joy complete. He says, please make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and one in mind. And Peter is essentially going to say the exact same thing in our passage today. 1 Peter 3:8-9. He's going to beg as well. He says, finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil for evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. So it comes down to, Simon says, and I want you all to write this down, Simon says, be unified. Be unified. And notice what Paul says. He says, be like-minded. Now, the better translation for like-minded is of one mind, which Paul is going to say later. But that's the exact same thing Peter is saying. They're saying that we need to be of one mind. Unity is in the church is essentially through one mind. And every single one of us will agree with this. And practically, the way we apply that one mind is, we should all be of one mind, as long as that one mind is my mind. Like, right? Don't you think that way? Don't you of course we need to be of one mind. This mind. But here's the deal. Peter's not talking about your mind. He's not talking about my mind. He's not even talking about his own mind. He's talking about the mind of Christ. He's talking about the commonality being the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ is what unifies every believer, no matter where you come from, no matter where you've been, no matter where you're going. It does not matter. That is the mind that he wants us all to have, that we all need to have as believers and as Christians. The mind of Christ, I want you to write that down. The mind of Christ unifies all believers. In 1 Corinthians 2:16, Paul is going to quote Isaiah 40, verse 13. He says the statement, we have the mind of Christ. We as Christians, now let me I don't think this is a point that I should have to make, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. But if you're not a Christian, you don't have the mind of Christ. You're not unified in that. You have to be a believer. You have to be a believer and follow Christ in order to have the mind of Christ. We is the Christian he's referring to. The believer, the follower, the disciple of Christ. We have the mind of Christ. That is us right here today. We have that mind of Christ. But the big question is this. The big question is how? How does it apply past that right there? How do we live that past there, past being that Christian? How do we continue to have that mind practically every single day? And Peter he answers it in that verse, verses 8 and 9. He says, be what? Be sympathetic. He says, love one another. Be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil with evil, insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing. And what he is doing and what he is saying is he's describing this warm type of love that every single one of us should have. And it is the measure of what Jesus Christ showed when he came here. It is the measure of what Jesus Christ has showed for each and every one of us. Jesus said this in John 13:45. He said, by this, all will know that you're my disciples. How? If you love one another. That's the mind of Christ. So what does it mean? To have the mind of Christ? It means this. Have the mind of Christ means sharing the plan and purpose of Christ. I want you to write that down. Having the mind of Christ means also to share the plan and purpose of Christ. It's very important. Like, if we don't share this plan and purpose, how can we have that mind of Christ? As parents need to be unified in the plan and purpose of raising their kids. I am proud to say that Faye and I are unified in the plan and purpose of raising our kids. And it's very simple. Let me describe what our plan and purpose is, okay? The purpose of what we're doing with our kids, real simple. Ready? We're going to raise our kids to not be jerks, okay? Okay? And our plan is to punish them whenever they are jerks. See what I'm saying? Pretty simple, right? And so like that's the plan, that's the purpose, that's the plan. And sometimes we think differently on how to accomplish it. Sometimes we're not on the same page. We're like, she'll look at me like, you thinking what I'm thinking? I'm like, yeah, let's ground him for a year. She's like, whoa, what? It's a little extreme. I mean, I was thinking about taking dessert away, but for the most part, we're still in agreement on the plan and the purpose. Like one time and it works. It works. One time we took away the most important thing. You know what I'm talking about? Video games. We took that away for an entire month. Do you know how much that hurt them? Oh, they thought they were in hell. They're like, this is horrible. But you know how awesome that was? You know how great that was? Let me tell you how great that was. When we did that, it was so great. All I have to do is threaten it. All I have to do is threaten it. And Jonas is all like, he'll do it. He'll do it. We gotta draw the line right now, Toby. We can't go any further. They're crazy. I'm like, yeah, we are. We are crazy. We'll do it. We're parents of our word. And so like it works. And so we are of like-minded. We are one mind when it comes to being parents. Our purpose and our plan are the same, and the same thing has to be with the church. We are united. It means that we are on the same page when it comes to the purpose and the plan of Jesus Christ. And that's how we are united as the church. And that purpose and that plan is that Jesus Christ came and he died for every single one of us. He gave himself. And that plan and purpose has to do with seeking and saving the lost. Has to do with seeking and saving. That's what he came. He came to seek and save what was lost. Who was lost? Those out there, and sometimes some of us right now. And we have to be united in that same plan and purpose. That's being of one mind with Jesus Christ. And that's what it's talking about. That's what Paul is talking about, or Peter's talking about. That's what he's trying to get us to. He's trying to get us to understand. He's begging us, pleading with us to come together. While we might be different, we might look different, we come from different places, we do different stuff, we don't have the same interests, we don't have the same intelligence level, all these different things, they are so different. Like, I'm looking out at you all here today, and every single one of you are different. I'm like not looking at any of you, then you're like, oh, you're kind of similar. No, you're not. You're all so very different. And the begging and the pleading is that you be unified, and it isn't unified because you like to hunt, or you like to shop, or you like the color blue. It's not because of that, but it's unified because of the sacrifice that Jesus made, that you believe in that, and that you want to be united in that purpose. We are all united in the purpose to seek and save that loss. We're all united in that. And that is that plea. And so as we look around, and it seems so impossible and so difficult to do and to accomplish, the truth of the matter is, we know it's possible. We know that it's possible for all of us to be that, to be united as a church. We know it's possible because it's possible in each and every single one of you. Like, just look at yourself. Look at your body. Your body, not anybody else's. Okay, look at your body, all right? Look at your body. And your body is a testimony to the unity. Your body is pulled together and is formed. Like maybe you like to exercise, and maybe you like to watch movies, and maybe you like to hunt, and maybe you like to read, and maybe you love to paint, and maybe you love math, which doesn't make any sense to me, okay? Maybe you love all that. Maybe you're a cat person, maybe you're a dog person, maybe you're a honey badger person. Good luck with that, okay? But maybe you have all these different things, and you're like, I'm a Disney person. You're like, I love Disney World, and there's other people over here like, I think Disney's the devil, and you're like, go to SeaWorld, they serve beer there. You're like, well, they do it at Epcot too. And you're like, why would you serve that at Epcot? It doesn't make any sense. And so you got all these differences, opinions, and different things, and you're going, what? Listen, your body's testimony that you can be united. Now, here's the deal. With very few exceptions. Very few exceptions. All cells in your body have the same DNA. All cells in your body have the same DNA and genes. And as cells divide and grow, they express differently. So different parts of your body are formed. Like if they didn't express differently, then we would have just one big giant foot. Okay? We would just be one big giant foot, which is really useless. Or we would be one giant eyeball, which is extremely creepy. But all these cells form differently so that we have fingers, we have eyes, we have a nose, we got a liver. We got all these different parts. And they all come together to form us. They all come together to form us. And so while our cells might be different, they all have something in common, and that is the DNA. And the DNA is basically the blueprint of who you are. I watch a lot of Jurassic Park, okay? So that DNA is the blueprint of, and blueprint, and I guess you'd even say the recipe of every living thing, who you are. And so think about it this way, the DNA is the glue that kind of holds your whole body together. It's kind of like the DNA is the glue that holds your entire body together. And Jesus is that DNA for each and every one of us. He is the DNA that holds the church together. The mind of Christ, the purpose, the plan and purpose is the DNA that holds the church together. That's how we can be so different. That's how we can not be like each other. That's how we cannot look like each other. That's how we can not act like each other. That's how we can be so different and still be the church. Because Jesus is our DNA. Jesus is our DNA. He is the mind of his mind that we share with. We are that one mind. And that one mind is not our mind. That one mind is not your mind, not my mind. It's not Peter's mind. It's not Paul's mind. It's not anybody else's mind but Jesus Christ. And his mind, when he came to this earth, was focused and it was centered on glorifying the Father and dying for each and every one of us. To seek, to save what was lost, who was lost, each and every one of us. And we have to be unified in that. That is the call. That is the plea. That is what Peter is begging for. Simon begs, be unified. Will you pray with me now? Lord, I love you. And I thank you for all that you've done and all that you've given us. And Lord, I know that, unity is one of those things that is extremely difficult. And at times, we can't see how it will work. We can't see how it comes together. But we know, Lord, how important that it truly is. It's so important that you would beg us for this. You would beg us to look past the differences and find that the most important commonality. And that is your Son. I praise you for the work that your Son has done. And I praise you for sending him so that we can all be there with you. And Lord, unify us in that purpose and that plan so that we can know you, but also that we can serve you and that others can know you the way that we do. Lord, I thank you. I praise you. In your name we pray. Amen. Will you all please stand with us now as we sing?